So, have any of you ever heard of AARP? Well, what an amazing thing in this moment in time in this grand nation of ours that the most extraordinary organization, enterprise, focused on the needs of people as they grow older, is AARP. There's not even a parallel. As I travel around the world, you hear about different nations' versions of AARP, and they're teeny tiny, insubstantial relative to this extraordinary organization. Tom Nelson is AARP's Chief Operating Officer, in which role he's responsible for AARP's key operations, including publications, research, advocacy, community service, field delivery capabilities, and membership development, all of which further AARP's goal of being the leading organization for social responsibility. He's been with AARP since 1980. Can that be? In which, over those decades, he has worked his way up from different pieces of the organization and has essentially, at one time or another, had his hand on pretty well every rudder in the organization. Tom, through the course of his life, beginning at the Andrews Gerontology Center, where he received his doctorate, has devoted decade upon decade upon decade to trying to think through what the needs of our population are as we age and what role older people can play in our society. It's an extraordinary gentleman with extraordinary accomplishments in an extraordinarily important role. If you'll join me in welcoming Tom Nelson. Enjoy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, good morning. Thank you, Ken. And Ken and I have known each other for many, many years now, obviously. And I took to heart his comment about how when we see each other, we say, "You look really good. You look so young." Well, Ken, you look really, really good. You look so old. It's terrific to be here with such an accomplished panel. It's hugely impressive, and particularly, to be honest, to be here with Bob Butler. His classic book in 1975, Why Survive? Being Old in America, is the reason I got into gerontology, probably like many of you. It painted a powerful and compelling picture of the challenges and the opportunities and the opportunity to do better. So, Bob, it's really your fault that I wasn't the one up on the stage in Los Angeles accepting the Oscar for Best Actor instead of Jeff Bridges, or I wasn't a co-founder of Google, or perhaps a celebrity chef on the Food Network. Instead, I became a gerontologist. Now, the good news is that after 35 years in the field and a beard that has gone from jet black to white, a light bulb finally went off. I finally have the answer to that seminal question, why survive? Why indeed? Because we need older people. We need their wisdom, their advice. We need their experience, their sense of confidence, their sense of humility. We need their courage, their sense of purpose. And we need the productivity of those who remain in the workforce or give back to their community. But we also have a shared responsibility to make sure that older people can count on the health care and the financial security they need. Now, in the 35 years since Why Survive was published, we fought for and made some landmark gains. Laws against age discrimination have been enacted. Social Security has been strengthened, a prescription drug benefit has been added to Medicare, and growing numbers of older people are enriching their own lives and in serving their communities through encore careers and community service. But for all the tangible and even inspirational advances of the last 35 years, there is no shortage of work ahead to make sure that growing old in this country is not a tragedy. Millions of our fellow citizens suffer because our healthcare system is broken, because we lack an adequate commitment to home and community-based services, and millions are shadowed by financial insecurity. Elizabeth Warren, who is a professor at the Harvard Law School and chair of a congressional oversight panel, has pointed out that between 1991 and 2007, bankruptcy filings have increased 125% for people between 65 and 74, and 400% for people over 75. The recent economic collapse has been devastating. $5 trillion have been lost from pensions and savings. But something even more profound than this is going on. It's a fundamental systemic change. It's what the political science Jacob Hacker has called the great risk shift. The idea of lifetime employment at one place, a guaranteed pension, they've gone the way of the typewriter. There's been a great risk shift onto the back of individuals. And the risk shift becomes a larger concern as the population becomes older. So the key question we have to face is, how do we make sure that longer lives are also better lives? I see three ingredients. First, the role of government through a new paradigm of healthcare, promoting a strong and vibrant economy and protecting consumers. Second, the need for increased personal responsibility, including healthy living, building personal savings. And third, a wider, stronger circle of civic engagement with new ways to value and connect the 50-plus population to community service and solving some of the nation's challenges. First, clearly, we need a new paradigm in healthcare. Congress may literally be on the verge of passing healthcare legislation. While not perfect, that represents a long overdue paradigm shift. If this bill becomes law, the social contract in our country will for the first time include quality, affordable health care. Again, while not perfect, this would be a dramatic landmark achievement. We need to keep in mind what's at stake. A year and a half ago, I gave a speech here in Chicago, and after I finished, a 59-year-old gentleman came up to me and said, with a real look of fear, "What do I do now? I'm not eligible for Medicare. My health insurance has been canceled, and I can't get any coverage because my doctor has just diagnosed me as being diabetic." He went on to say, "I feel I'm on my own. There's no one to help me, and I'm scared." That was this risk shift up close and personal. Passing health care reform will tell this gentleman and millions of others, you're no longer on your own. We're all in this together. Better health care also means taking personal responsibility, using preventive services, eating right, staying fit. And even as we put all the attention right now on health care reform, we also need a sharper focus on financial security. Today, millions of older Americans are living week to week, if not day to day. As one letter writer told us, he runs out of money before he runs out of month. The poverty rate has increased substantially since the year 2000. So longevity, like love, can be a many-splendored thing, but not if your latter years are racked by unending financial worries. Building that adequate income for the second half of life rests on Social Security, pensions, and savings. We need to strengthen Social Security, protect pensions, but we also need to take personal responsibility for a greater savings rate. Right now, about half of the folks in the workplace don't have any access to a workplace savings plan. We need legislation to create an auto IRA at every employer. In financial security as well as healthcare, we have to focus on both the governmental and the personal role. So, making sure that longer lives are better lives also means finding new ways to connect older Americans to their communities. The Chronicle of Philanthropy has pointed out the graying of America will be accompanied by an explosion of skilled volunteers. We can promote this exponential growth in service if we encourage the self-directed path of volunteering, the neighbor helping neighbor that Mae talked about. Last January, we at AARP released a survey showing a remarkable rise in self-directed volunteering. 57% of the respondents said that they were volunteering on their own in 2009, compared to 34% just 6 years earlier. This is the army of useful citizens that Dr. Andrus, who founded AARP, talked about. So how do we put in place a new social contract in healthcare, promote personal responsibility, and achieve a sizable increase in community service and community engagement? I believe it's through a new social movement. A social movement with strong leadership from this army of useful citizens over age 50. And while the challenges are huge and daunting, as the New York columnist David Brooks points out, social movements in the United States don't proceed from a eat your Brussels sprouts kind of message. And even as a lifelong vegetarian, I agree with him. And here's what it means. Let's look at two very different presidents in the last 30 years, Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. Sharply contrasting political philosophies and governing styles, but each of them operated from a compelling message of optimism. Now, optimism shouldn't be confused with complacency or naivete. We need optimism, and a belief in our country, in our citizens, and most particularly, a belief in the capacity of our older citizens to drive a social movement and be a force for good. And this optimism needs to be married with energetic and passionate organizing. Here we could take a page from the Tea Party brigades and the Obama campaign. We need sustained and skillful advocacy on the ground and on the web. That's how we're going to achieve meaningful social change driven by people 50 plus. If we can combine the message of optimism and possibility together with powerful organizing and advocating, then we will go beyond what is predictable to what is possible when it comes to being old in America. And that, I believe, is what brings all of us in this room together and keeps us together for the hard and rewarding work that is ahead. And that will be what drives the future we construct together, and one that will be a triumph, not a tragedy. Thank you.